Good afternoon, and welcome to today's presentation. Let's imagine you have a patient who comes to you with pain associated with Crohn's disease. He's on a biologic, but still has chronic pain and is very distressed. What if I could offer a solution that would potentially make you the hero in this patient's eyes? Intrigued? I hope so. An option for many of your patients may be the utilization of medical cannabis. Many of you in your medical school studies have read the numerous research trials and data on the benefits of medical marijuana. If you're still not convinced, I implore you to do a deep dive literature review on the medical benefits of cannabis for many disease states. So if indeed you're interested in pursuing this avenue of care for your patients, what are the next steps? But more importantly, what are the obstacles? Maryland, the state in which we live, is indeed a state that has legalized marijuana for medical purposes. So have 32 other states and the District of Columbia. But what does this mean from a federal perspective? Despite medical cannabis laws in these states being passed, cannabis is still illegal under the federal law. When the Controlled Substances Act was signed in 1970, it deemed cannabis as having high potential for abuse and no place to be utilized medicinally. Today, in 2021, it is still classified as a Substance 1 drug. According to the federal tax law, doctors may not prescribe cannabis for medical use under federal law, although they can recommend its use under the First Amendment. So if you're a physician interested in moving forward and providing medical cannabis to your patients, what are the processes and implications of doing so? Will you get prosecuted by the federal government if you recommend medical cannabis to your patients? Not likely. And here's why. The federal government cannot enforce a state government to enforce a federal law. In addition, the Department of Justice has focused less and less resources on prosecuting individuals who utilize cannabis for personal use and more on the larger priorities, such as distribution of marijuana to minors, preventing drug driving, and preventing violence in association with cultivating and distribution of marijuana. They would much rather allow the state's law enforcement and regulatory bodies to enforce their own local drug laws. So the likelihood that a physician who is recommending medical marijuana to a patient will face any criminal charges is incredibly low. Ironically, even the VA has updated their policies and are not denying veterans' ability to utilize medical cannabis and their physicians to discuss this option with them. So with the understanding of the federal law complexity out of the way, what is the path for a physician in Maryland to move forward and assist their patient in obtaining medical cannabis? Focusing on the state of Maryland, as mentioned before, marijuana is legal for medical purposes for patients and caregivers, but they must be registered with the Maryland Medical Cannabis Commission. This commission was founded in 2014 and was charged with establishing the regulations for growing, cultivating, possessing, and distributing medical marijuana to patients 18 years of age and older. It also houses the Provider Registry of medical professionals who are legally allowed to recommend cannabis. As a reminder, cannabis for recreational use remains illegal in Maryland. In the state, the maximum amount of marijuana that can be purchased is 4 ounces in any 30-day period. Recently, edible cannabis has been approved for utilization. Qualifying conditions include, but aren't limited to, anorexia, glaucoma, PTSD, seizures, chronic pain, and severe nausea. And patients must register online through the Maryland Medical Cannabis Commission. Providers who are interested in recommending medical cannabis need to register with this same commission, and a provider who has an active license in good standing with their corresponding board is eligible to register with the Cannabis Commission. When both the patient and the provider are registered with the commission, the provider will issue a certification to the patient. The patient can then take this certification to the state-regulated dispensary to obtain their cannabis. Helping your patient obtain medical cannabis, if appropriate, may seem at first to be a daunting task. The complexity of the federal versus the state law situation can indeed be very confusing. The truth is, patients do indeed have a pathway in the state to obtain medical cannabis. It is served well under the Maryland Marijuana Commission. Physicians who are interested in educating and recommending medical cannabis to their patients have a pathway as well. What the future holds regarding federal laws in relation to medical cannabis are still unknown. Certainly, the times they are a-changin', hopefully for the betterment of the patients in need. Thank you for your time today.